Without question, the life story of Prophet Muhammad clearly serves as a complete representation of the noble divine message he conveyed to guide humanity from the depths of ignorance and idol worship to the enlightenment of faith and belief in one God. A true and thorough understanding of this message can only be achieved through meticulous examination and deep study of both the context and elements of his life story. For this reason, an entire chapter is dedicated here to exploring the characteristics and evolution of Arabian tribes before the advent of Islam, along with the surrounding conditions that influenced the Prophet's calling. From a linguistic perspective, the term Arab refers to arid regions and barren wastelands that are almost devoid of water and vegetation. Since ancient times, both the Arabian Peninsula and its inhabitants have been known by this name. The Arabian Peninsula is bounded to the west by the Red Sea and Sinai, to the east by the Arabian Gulf, to the south by the Arabian Sea, which forms part of the Indian Ocean, and to the north by ancient Syria and portions of Iraq. The region covers an area estimated to be between 1 million and 1.25 million square miles. Due to its geographical location, the peninsula has consistently held significant importance. In terms of its interior landscape, it consists primarily of deserts and sandy terrain, making it difficult for outsiders and conquerors to access, thus granting its inhabitants complete freedom and autonomy throughout history, even with two powerful neighboring empires nearby. Its external position, however, made it the focal point of the ancient world and established maritime and overland connections with numerous civilizations of that era. This advantageous strategic location transformed the Arabian Peninsula into a hub for commerce, learning, faith, and artistic expression. Arab kinfolks have been divided according to lineage into three groups. 1. Perishing Arabs, the ancient Arabs, of whose history little is known, and of whom were Ad, Tam, Taysum, Jadis, Emlak, and others. Pure Arabs, who originated from the progeny of Yarub bin Yashjub bin Qatan. They were also called Qatanian Arabs. Arabaized Arabs, who originated from the progeny of Ishmael. They were also called Adnanian Arabs. The pure Arabs, the people of Qatan, originally lived in Yemen and comprised many tribes, two of which were very famous. A. Himyar, the most famous of whose septs were Zaid al-Jamhur, Quda-A, and Sakasik. MSA and Iu9B. Kalan, the most famous of whose septs were Hamdan, Anmar, Mudhij, Kinda, Lakhm, Jadam, Az-Ws, Khazraj, and the descendants of Japhna, the kings of Old Syria. Kalan's septs emigrated from Yemen to dwell in the different parts of the Arabian Peninsula prior to the Great Flood, Sail al-Arim of Marib Dam. Due to the failure of trade under the Roman pressure and domain on both sea and land trade routes following Roman occupation of Egypt and Syria. Naturally enough, the competition between Kalan and Himyar led to the evacuation of the first and the settlement of the second in Yemen. The emigrating septs of Kalan can be divided into four groups. 1. Azd, who, under the leadership of Imran bin Mr Music, #146, wandered in Yemen, sent pioneers, and finally headed northwards. Details of their emigration can be summed up as follows. The Laba bin Amr left his tribe Al-Az for Hijaz and dwelt between the Libya and Daikar. When he gained strength, he headed for Medina, where he stayed. Of his seed are Aws and Khazraj, sons of Harita bin Alaba. Harita bin Amr, known as Khuzay, wandered with his folks in Hijaz until they came to Mar-Izizaran. Later, they conquered the Haram and settled in Makkah after having driven away its people, the tribe of Jurham. Imran bin Amr and his folks went to Oman, where they established the tribe of Azd, whose children inhabited Tahama and were known as Azd of Shanuay. Japhna bin Amr and his family headed for Syria, where he settled and initiated the kingdom of Ghassan, who was so named after a spring of water, in Hijaz, where they stopped on their way to Syria. Lakhm and Judam, of whom was Nasr bin Rabi'ah, father of Manadara, kings of Hira. Banu Tai, who also emigrated northwards to settle by the So, called Aya and Salma mountains, which were consequently named as Tai mountains. kinda, who dwelt in Bahrain but were expelled to Hadramaut and Najd, where they instituted a powerful government, but not for long, for the whole tribe soon faded away. Another tribe of Himyar, known as Quaid-e-Azam, also left Yemen and dwelt in Samoa semi-desert on the borders of Iraq. The Arabiized Arabs go back in ancestry to their great-grandfather Abraham AWS from a town called Ar near Kufa on the west bank of the Euphrates in Iraq. Excavations brought to light great details of the town, Abraham's family, and the prevalent religions and social circumstances. Tafim al-Quran 1/553. It is known that Abraham AWS left Ar for Haran and then for Palestine, which he made headquarters for his message. He wandered all over the area. When he went to Egypt, the Pharaoh tried to do evil to his wife Sarah, but all saved her, and the Pharaoh's wicked scheme recoiled on him. He thus came to realize her strong attachment to all, and, in acknowledgement of her grace, the Pharaoh rendered his daughter Hagar at Sarah's service. But Sarah gave Hagar to Abraham as a wife. Bukhari 1/474. Abraham returned to Palestine, where Hagar gave birth to Ishmael. Sarah became so jealous of Hagar that she forced Abraham to send Hagar and her baby away to a plantless valley on a small hill in Hijaz by the sacred house, exposed to the wearing of floods coming right and left. He chose for them a place under a lofty tree above Zamzam, near the upper side of the mosque in Mecca, where neither people nor water was available, and went back to Palestine, leaving with his wife and baby a leather case with some dates and a pot of water. Not before long, they ran out of both food and water, but thanks to Allah's favor, water gushed forth to sustain them for some time. The whole story of Zamzam Spring is already known to everybody. Bukhari 1/475. Another Yemeni tribe, Jurham II, came and lived in Mecca upon Hagar's permission, after being said to have lived in the valleys around Mecca. It is mentioned in the Sahih al-Bukhari that this tribe came to Mecca before Ishmael was a young man, while they had passed through that valley long before this event. Abraham used to go to Mecca every now and then to see his wife and son. The number of these journeys is still unknown, but authentic historical resources spoke of 4 ones. All the Sublime stated in the Noble Kur that he had Abraham see in his dream that he slaughtered his son Ishmael, and therefore Abraham stood up to fulfill his order. Ayat. Then, when they had both submitted themselves to the will of all, and he had laid him prostrate on his forehead, or on the side of his forehead for slaughtering, and we called out to him, O Abraham, you have fulfilled the dream, vision. Verily, thus do we reward the muezzin, good doers, who perform good deeds totally for Allah's sake only, without any show-off or to gain praise or fame, etc., and do them in accordance to Allah's orders. Verily, that indeed was a manifest trial, and we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. Aram 37:103-107. The book of Genesis records that Ishmael was 13 years senior to his brother Isaac. The chronological order of the sacrifice narrative indicates that this event occurred prior to Isaac's birth, and that Allah's pledge to grant Abraham another son, Isaac, was made following the complete telling of this account. This narrative described at minimum 1 trip before Ishmael reached adulthood. Al-Bukhari, citing Ibn Abbas as his source, documented 3 additional journeys, which can be summarized as follows. When Ishmael reached maturity, he acquired the Arabic language from the Jurham tribe, who held him in high regard and arranged his marriage to one of their women shortly after his mother's passing. Desiring to visit his wife and son once more, Abraham traveled to Mecca following Ishmael's wedding, but found him absent from home. He inquired of Ishmael's wife about her husband's welfare and their circumstances. She expressed dissatisfaction with their financial hardship, prompting Abraham to instruct her to tell Ishmael to replace his doorstep. Ishmael comprehended this symbolic message, ended his marriage, and wed the daughter of Mudad bin Amr, the leader of the Jurham tribe. On another occasion, Abraham returned to visit his son, but once again found him away. He posed the same question to the new wife, who responded with gratitude to Allah. Abraham then instructed her to tell Ishmael to preserve his doorstep, meaning to remain married to her, before returning to Palestine.
For a third visit, Abraham came to Mecca and discovered Ishmael crafting arrows beneath a tall tree close to the Zamzam well. This reunion, following such an extended period of separation, proved deeply emotional for both the loving father and his devoted, pious son. During this encounter, father and son constructed the Kaaba and erected its foundations, with Abraham, following Allah's command, inviting mankind to perform pilgrimage to this sacred site. Through Allah's blessing, Ishmael was granted 12 sons by Mudad's daughter. These sons were named Nebet, Kedar, Edbil, Mebsham, Mishma, Duma, Mika, Hudad, Yetma, Yedar, Nafis, and Kidman, who eventually established 12 tribes that settled in Mecca and conducted trade between Yemen, Greater Syria, and Egypt. In time, these tribes dispersed throughout the peninsula and beyond. All records of their activities faded into history except for the lineages of Nebet and Kedar. The Nabateans, descendants of Nebet, created a prosperous civilization in northern Hijaz, establishing a strong government that extended its influence over all surrounding tribes, with Petra serving as their capital. No one challenged their rule until the Romans arrived and succeeded in destroying their kingdom. Following thorough research and careful study, Mr. Suleiman and Nadwi concluded that the Ghassanid rulers, together with the Aws and Khazraj tribes, were most likely Nabateans rather than Catanians. The descendants of Kedar, Ishmael's son, remained in Mecca for generations, growing in numbers. From them came Adnan and his son Ma'ad, to whom the Adnanian Arabs traced their lineage. Adnan stands as the 21st ancestor in the Prophet's genealogical line. It is reported that when Prophet Muhammad discussed his ancestry, he would conclude at Adnan, stating, "Genealogists fabricate," and would not extend beyond him. However, some scholars supported the possibility of tracing lineage beyond Adnan, dismissing the significance of the mentioned prophetic tradition. They maintained that precisely 40 generations separated Adnan from Abraham. Nizar, the sole son of Ma'ad, had 4 sons who developed into 4 major tribes, Ayad, Anmar, Rabi'a, and Madar. The latter 2 further divided into numerous clans. Rabi'a became the father of Asad, Anaza, Abdul Qais, Yl's 2 sons, Bakr and Taglib, Hanifa, and many other groups. The Madar tribe split into 2 primary branches, Qais-Alan bin Madar and the clans of Elias bin Madar. From Qais-Alan came the Banu Salim, Banu Hawazin, and Banu Gadafan, from whom descended Abs, Zubian, Ashja, and Ghani bin Asur. From Elias bin Madar came Tamim bin Murrah, Hudhail bin Madrika, Banu Asad bin Khuzaimah, and Seps of Kinana bin Khuzaimah, of whom came Quraysh, the descendants of Fahr bin Malik bin and Nadir bin Kinana. The Quraysh tribe divided into several clans, the most prominent being Jumah, Sam, Adi, Maqsam, Taym, Zara, and the 3 branches of Tsusai bin Kilab, Abduddar bin Tsusai, Asad bin Abdul Uzza bin Tsusai, and Abd Manaf bin Tsusai. Abd Manaf further split into 4 clans, Abd Shams, Nawfal, Muttalib, and Hashim. It was from Hashim's lineage that Allah chose Prophet Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim, Prophet Muhammad, stated, Allah chose Ishmael from Abraham's sons, Kinana from Ishmael's descendants, Quraysh from Kinana's offspring, Hashim from the Quraysh tribe, and he selected me from Hashim's family. Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib reported that the Messenger of Allah, said, Allah created all people and selected me from the finest among them. He chose the tribes and picked me from the best of them, and he chose families and selected me from the most noble. I am the finest in both individual character and family lineage. As Adnan's descendants multiplied, they dispersed across various regions of Arabia in search of grazing lands and water sources. The Abdul Qais tribe, along with certain branches of Bakr bin Wa'il and Tamim, migrated to Bahrain and established themselves there. Banu Hanifa bin Sabi bin Ali bin Bakr settled in Hijr, which served as Yamama's capital. All branches of Bakr bin Wa'il occupied territories encompassing Yamama, Bahrain, Saif Kazima, the coastal regions, Iraq's outer frontiers, Abla, and hate. The majority of the Taghlib tribe resided in the Euphrates region, while some lived alongside Bakr. Banu Tamim settled in the Basra semi-desert area. Banu Salim established themselves near Medina across lands extending from Wadi al-Qura through Khaybar to the eastern hills and Hira. The Thaqif tribe inhabited Taif, while Hawazin settled east of Makkah near Autaz along the Makkah-Basra route. Banu Asad occupied territory east of Tayma and west of Kufa, with the Tai family living between Banu Asad and Tayma, approximately 5 days' journey from Kufa. Zubayn inhabited the area situated between Tayma and Horan.